Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Drazkowski. I'm with the new House Republican Caucus. We are here to provide myself, Representative Munson, Representative Miller, and Representative Bahr, the members of our caucus, to provide a response to what we heard just earlier, and then to provide some alternative ideas as we look forward. We are looking at a situation where the state of Minnesota's budget is nearing $50 billion. And we have a $1.5 billion over-collection of the people's money already projected for the next biennium. That's on top of the $2.4 or $2.5 billion of reserve funds that are set out there, and the automatic $2 billion increase in government that's already hard-coded into our state statutes. In addition to that, it was very clear that the Democrats believe that that's not enough. Government needs to get much, 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 much bigger, according to them. We have another idea. Our idea is, instead of growing government, taking money from hardworking Minnesotans and forcing them to flee our state like they have been, we actually shrink the size of government. Instead of making government bigger and people smaller, we bring government to be smaller and allow people and their families to be bigger again. That's what our vision is for this state. You don't have to go very much further than Representative Liebling's Minnesota Care buy-in. And I know that some state takeover proposals of the healthcare system have indicated anywhere as high as $34 billion per biennium in additional costs in order to fund the government takeover of Minnesotans' healthcare from them. I'm going to focus on what we heard about the infringement upon our gun rights, and then each of these gentlemen are going to talk about a different component. We heard from them that guns are violent. Guns are not violent. As a matter of fact, it's very clear to me that homophobia has overcome the Democrat caucus. And they are afraid of guns and unfamiliar with them, and want to shed that fear across Minnesota by bringing forward two irresponsible proposals that steal the Second Amendment rights from the hardworking people of Minnesota that want to work so dearly and so hardly to protect their wives, children, and husbands from people who want to do them harm. Those proposals are actually going to make Minnesotans less safe instead of more safe, and we need to go, folks, in a different direction that empowers Minnesotans to protect themselves instead of taking away their means to protect themselves. We don't have to go any further in that example to look than the state of Maryland, where they have a red flag protection order in place, where the government has sent their police officers and broke into a home, smashed through the door unannounced, and only to have the government officer kill the person unsuspecting there as they stole his gun from him. And evidently the government was successful in taking it. We don't need to put our police officers in that position where they are going to be less safe because of that, and we certainly don't need to have the citizen be a subject to the government. So that's the comments that I have on the gun piece, and I think the other gentleman will provide a little bit of insight as well.
Okay. I'm Jeremy Munson, and I'm representative from 23B. I just want to address the healthcare Minnesota Care buy-in. I'm on the healthcare finance committee this year, so I'm going to be a loud voice for reducing healthcare costs and increasing access, something that Republicans and Democrats want. We just have different paths to get there. As you heard, they do not have the costs associated with the Minnesota Care buy-in yet. It is going to shutter hospitals in rural Minnesota. These low reimbursement rates are not just going to cause doctors to close their doors. They are already rationing care. And in the number of people in Minnesota Care or medical assistance patients that they take in today, this is going to restrict access to care, and it's something that we're going to oppose. We need to make health care more affordable, and I believe that's through price transparency, making sure that doctors and hospitals and pharmacies post their prices and are more competitive. That's also a solution to the price gouging in the pharmaceutical business. We need to make sure that people find prices online so they can shop for pharmaceuticals and health care, and not just shop for where the insurance companies dictate they go, but shop based on price and quality. Representative Miller, would you like to address?
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm State Representative Tim Miller. I'm from 17A. And I'd like to address, when I'm listening to this agenda, top 10, under the guise of we care, we can do things, understand, Minnesota, understand that they are here to take your freedoms, to take your money, to take your guns, and to take your children. As they say, the devil is in the details, and a lot of the things that they're saying the people of Minnesota want, they do want safety in Minnesota. They do want what's best for their children, but they don't want people telling them how to do it and government coming in and intruding on their lives. Small businesses, this agenda here, this better be a wake-up call. You're going to be in a lot of trouble here. My farmers out by me, my small businesses, that's what makes rural Minnesota so great, is all these people working together. They're coming, government is coming and telling you what it is you're going to do if these things are approved. I'm a little concerned about the fact that they came in here and had very bold statements on 10 agenda items, and when the press asked honest questions as to what this will cost, they answered, well, it's probably not going to cost that much, but we don't know. And then when we talk about the surplus, they say there is no surplus. Well, if you're not going to pay for this through surplus, then you're going to pay through this through increased taxes. So small businesses, farmers, young families, middle-income families, look out. They're coming after you to pay for all of this agenda. I encourage people through this session to look very closely and carefully at the things they're going to be going through. I encourage all of you to communicate with us what your true needs are. Thank you.
I am Representative Bahr, 31B, and the one item that was not on their agenda, but Representative Miller alluded to it, is the transparency issue with the rules fight we had on the floor yesterday. That is just one of the, to me, that's the biggest thing, that it lays the groundwork for everything. And Representative Miller here had mentioned the devil is in the details, and that's where the transparency comes in. Just a little historical context, in the 73-74 biennium, the legislature passed and the governor signed into law 1,366 different pieces of legislation. Since then, the Supreme Court has come back with different rulings as the legislature has pushed the boundaries of the single subject clause in the state constitution. The Supreme Court not wanting to shut down, rule something as unconstitutional, which would shut down the government because these are always in funding bills. They have allowed the legislature to push the limit to the point where we set a new record last biennium with 189 bills signed by the governor. Now, the state government has grown exponentially, and the number of bills has gone down exponentially to run that behemoth, and I believe that is how most of the bad legislation gets passed. And I have been working cross-aisle all last session, and I will be working across the aisles this session, because this is an issue that all legislators have complained about when they're in the minority, and I'm hoping that to work with the new majority and some of us that are just coming out of the majority to actually rewrite the single subject clause to bring some transparency back to all of this legislation so that we can find the devil in the details.
Representative Drazkowski, is this going to be a regular occurrence where you're going to respond separately to DFL proposals from the rest of the Republican caucus? And have you had any luck in growing the numbers in your new Republican caucus?
Well, Tom, I think the prospects are good. We don't have any additional members yet, but we're hopeful to continue to grow. And we are our own caucus. We're the new House Republican Caucus, and plan to participate in these types of events as much as possible so that we can show the perspective that the people in our districts have on these issues and others. I heard the idea that the House majority, the new House majority, went all around the state listening to people, and it became very evident to me they weren't listening to the people in my district and the districts around me. It was very, very clear that their radical agenda doesn't match what I'm hearing out there. So it's important for us to bring that message forward.
Are you attending the One Minnesota gathering today?
I am not.
The rest of
and
you?
I haven't in the past either, but
how about all of you? Are
Yeah, we just got our staff hired yesterday, so we're trying to get everybody up to speed. Our staff doesn't have computers yet, and so we're trying to get everybody up. That's the most important thing, is that we hit the ground running with this caucus, so I'll be working on getting the staff up to speed
Is it
today.
a boycought of it? Because there was a reference that Republicans are there. Okay.
no, absolutely not. Okay. It's measuring priorities, Mary, like why are you here instead of, in Fergus Falls today?
Have there been any hiccups in getting your staff arranged and everything since this is kind of a new arrangement?
No, actually, the speaker has been very accommodating and recognizes the fact that all members need to be heard equally and need to be equally equipped in order to get their message out and do the things that they need to do. So we provide thanks to her, and the communication with her has been very good.
In your relations with the minority caucus, Minority Leader Dowd and them, still strained?
Our relationships have been very good. I've been going out and working. Yep, sorry about that. Our relationships with the members of the minority caucus, the old Republican caucus, have been very good. They've taken time. We've had to have conversations, but they've been very good and very positive. And this is not an intent to go contrary to any of them. This is with the intent to be able to serve our districts the best that we can, and included in that is having those strong relationships with our fellow Republicans, and I think that will continue. I don't think you'll see any difference with that.
Can I get you started to do that a little bit? Whoever wants to respond to this, speak to the founding principles of this caucus. What is the purpose? What is the point? What are you hoping to accomplish? I mean, 4 is a good-sized trivia team. It's kind of low on the caucus scale, so.
Well, to begin with, we broke new ground. This hasn't been done in recent history, and so we're finding our way through here. But our goal is, we certainly had some differing opinions from some of the direction the other caucus was going. We are in a position now where we were voting yesterday for an outcome that provided a Democrat to be the Speaker of the House and all the committees to be in charge. That's because we lost an election and evidently need to head a different direction. So we want to provide a voice for our constituents that truly represents what they would like us to say, the things that we told those constituents when we went out on the campaign trail. We want to be able to clearly articulate those here at the Capitol, and that's what's happening here today.
So being part of that larger Republican caucus muted that voice somewhat, or left the impression that whatever was being said by those leaders you shared? I mean, being a different voice helps you express those different opinions?
I think what it's important to understand is the people of Minnesota, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, another party, or just not affiliated and just want to be citizens of the state of Minnesota, they have been continually asking for a culture change in government. And I don't think we're going to be, by any means, a revolution. That's one of the conversations, or one of the things that we have to prove. But this is going to be a fundamental change. We've listened to the people of Minnesota, and they have said, we want government to serve us differently. First of all, they want us to serve us, not themselves. That's something that's very important to us. And they want to know what's going on. So you will hear from us transparency. Transparency is kind of floated out there often, right? And we all want to be transparent. But we have to do it because we have people back in our districts that don't know what is going on, and that is a point of emphasis for us, is that we are going to be communicating heavily, whether it be with people that live in our communities, people that are fellow Republicans, all the different people that want to know what's going on here. It's been amazingly difficult for them to understand. You know, some of these things can be rather complex, but to be able to communicate with them, that's one of the primary goals that we have in this caucus.
Is there a fundamental ideological difference that you can identify? Or is it simply a matter of gradation of ideology?
When it comes to ideological differences, you have 4 people up here that we've tried to come to some sort of ideological unity, and we haven't been able to do it between the 4 of us. So no, what we want to be able to do when it comes to the Republican Party, because we're the Republican caucus, we want to make sure that we include all the voices that are within the Republican Party. That's what we are. We're here, we're Republicans, and that means everything from what we define as moderates to conservatives to libertarians to whatever people want to define themselves. If they put themselves in the Republican Party, we're going to do our best to make sure that we listen to them, that we respond to them, and we do their service.
Drawing from memory, I think you said something to the effect in the release that you had felt either mistreated or that you had felt that you weren't treated fairly. What was the issue? What was going on? I'm talking to you, Representative.
Oh, well, that's what I get for putting in a release. I think, you know, one of the difficult questions that I've had when I've talked to people back in my district so they can understand, because to a lot of people this is a pretty radical step, and it is. In trying to communicate to them some of these things, it gets deep into the weeds of inside politics and stuff like that. And so I've been sensitive to the fact that we are not here as a caucus to go out and declare that we are the contrarians to the old Republican House caucus, okay? So do I believe that there are some people that there are unequal voices within the caucus? Sure. Do I think that that is some of the challenges that we're faced there? Absolutely. Have I experienced certain things? I have, but I've also communicated those with those people. I don't think we took our marbles and left. Okay, we did not do that. What we viewed as an opportunity to listen to the people of Minnesota, and we want to fundamentally change the culture of government like the people have asked. The caucus system carries its role in the legislature. We can't just do everything ourselves. Okay? But in the end, I was elected by the people in my 4 counties in District 17A. I have to answer to my conscience and then to them. My caucus comes after that. Okay, so if my caucus is kind of butting itself in the way of those 2 previous things, then I certainly have to take a hard look at that, and that's what I've done.
So wasn't anything specific, for instance, the caucus not supporting you on the Appleton jail or anything like that?
No, and that's been a question that's been asked by a lot of people. This is the legislature, and I don't get to do everything I want to do and everything goes my way. This is not issue-driven. This is, I didn't get my way on something like that. As I said, I think there needs to be a fundamental culture change in the legislature, and I hope that through the 4 of us and possibly more, that we can do that. We certainly, Representative Drazkowski talked about working with the Speaker. She's been fabulous to work with. And you know why she's been fabulous to work with? Is she's been straightforward. And it's been very clear the path that we need to take on the many different challenges. Have we always gotten our way? No, we have not always gotten our way. But that's the way that government should work. We should have our debates, we should have our disagreements, we should find our agreements, and then we should move forward, and that's the way government works best.
Representative Miller, could you just clarify something about the DFL agenda that you mentioned earlier?
Sure.
You used the phrase, they want to take our children.
Sure.
What did you mean by that? Which?
Well, I'm going to use the example. As I said, the devil is in the details. It sounds good to come up to a podium, and I know we're in sound bites because, you know, we don't want to be exhaustive here and all afternoon. But when they talk about early education and some of the terminology that they were doing sounded real well, okay? But out in rural Minnesota, we have a fundamental problem with childcare. And government is causing that problem for childcare. So for the government to come in and say, there's a problem, so we're going to fix it by spending more money and streamlining it, and we're going to basically institutionalize your children out of the crib, I don't support that. And so if we have problems with kids being prepared for school, we need to address that in a lot of different ways. And I certainly support my local public schools and my private schools in doing that. But the reason why we have a problem in early education is because of government. Government is not there to help us with that. And so when I say they're going to take our children, it doesn't mean take our children. They just are saying, you know what? We know best. We know how to raise these kids to be productive citizens. Don't worry. Just show up at the end of the day and pick them up and we'll take care of them. And I don't support that agenda.
Anything else? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.